PvE Woods was one of my least favourite maps, at least prior to the introduction of the new bunker. And of course that came with the zombie event, and I'm going to run through a little run that I was actually finding quite enjoyable to do on Woods, especially as a player that enjoys kind of running into a lot of PMCs consistently. This actually seemed to work out quite well because there's a lot of PMC spawns that are kind of around that sort of area in this run. So as a player that enjoys those engagements, this run is definitely for you. Hopefully it's going to showcase at least a decent amount of loot that you can actually pick up during the run as well, because of the fact that the new bunker does actually spawn some decent loot. So when you start off in your raids, primarily the spot that I am typically going to go to, it can be in reverse, so this entire run can be in reverse. So if we spawn over by the scav hut on the bottom left of the map, as you see it on any of the wikis, this area, we're going to run all the way over to the scav bunker. Now, you can add in the sawmill. Usually I will check it to see if Sturman's there. Usually he's either taken out by PMCs by the time that you actually even arrive, or he just simply doesn't spawn. And so you can find yourself essentially going down there if he does spawn and you can see him. Maybe you got a longer range weapon and you can easily take him out, go and loot up him and his guards. But if he doesn't, which didn't happen in the raid that we were in, then, you know, you can carry on moving towards the actual bunker. The bunker itself actually spawns on the northeast side of the mountain area in the center of the map. So it's kind of in between where the goons spawn as well as the bridge vehicle extract and the town, essentially, like the abandoned little village, the village area. And so it's like right in the middle on the rocky outcrop at the bottom of the rocks. And of course on screen right here is the actual what it actually looks like when you come close to getting into the bunker. Now, this bunker is pretty decent in terms of the loot that you can get in there. There's a lot of duffel bag spawns, so it adds quite a value into every single one of your raids. And so I would almost every single time guarantee that you should be looting up the bunker if you do have time, or you are trying to make as much money every single raid, you know, take home some of that gear, put it into your docs case and stuff. Now, this actual bunker does spawn blue folders, and they spawn in kind of the office room of the bunker on the table. That's where I found mine, and you can see it on screen right here. And it was just a nice additional like 350k or something like that to be able to pick one of those up. And so just an additional amount of money. There's also a mark circle there, so you can pick up rare loot that's actually in those as well. And there are a ton of technical items, so shooses, Xenos and stuff like that, which come in the actual bunker itself, just lying around on the shelves and stuff like that. There's also some supply crates which you can pick up, and all of that sort of stuff is going to add up to a decent amount of rubles. Now, depending on how lucky you get, maybe you get a Bitcoin on the mark circle, maybe you get yourself a blue folder. You can probably expect anywhere from about 400 on the low side, like the very minimum, from opening up the room and just looting everything, up to like 1.5 million. Maybe you get a Bitcoin and a blue folder. Perfect. That's brilliant. But, you know, the average is probably going to be around 600k, something like that. I would expect, to be honest. So it is a decent amount of money, and definitely a stop that you should be doing when you're playing on Woods, as well as the fact that there's a lot of PMCs that actually push down into the bunker. And so when you first go down into there, you want to be making sure that you're checking your corners, because the PMCs will be in some of the rooms. They can be directly in the bunker, and they also spawn outside of the bunker as well. And there's also a lot of scavs that will spawn around the bunker area as well. So always worth checking around there. It will get you some extra XP as well. And so definitely a really, really good addition to make loot on Woods actually seem a little bit better. The problem with Woods is, yes, there are decent loot spots, but they're so far apart that sometimes it feels like you're running for like 80% of the time and only able to loot up, you know, very dense areas of loot, and so spread out. So, you know, you're spending way more time playing on the map than you would with another map, even if the loot value that you get on a different map is actually lower. But actually, in terms of loot value per raid, I would say things like labs, things like loot house, things like, for example, streets, they are just infinitely better than Woods in terms of how much money and actual loot that you get, plus the raid time are reduced. But in terms of like fun, I actually enjoyed playing woods. So this is something that I think is definitely a option for you to play. The only problem is obviously the goons do spawn on woods, so they will be spawning over to the left of where the bunker is if we're looking at the map. And so you've got to be careful, don't stray off too far over to the left where the goons will aggro you. They can beam you very, very quickly, but if you're happy to fight them, I didn't manage to find them in my raid, but if you do manage to find them, I'd highly recommend, engaging with them and getting yourself some extra loot as well, potentially getting some good loot within the actual goons themselves, because they can be carrying some high value stuff on them. But once you've made your way out of the bunker, you've checked for the goons, you've checked the sawmill, what we'll typically do then is go down to the village. This is a area where you can go and loot up, you can check inside of the houses if you want to. In the raid that we are showcasing here, I didn't bother because of the fact that there was a lot of PMCs, there was a lot of scavs, and so I was just enjoying trying to take them out and stuff like that, and just getting involved with some of that fighting, which I think is really, really fun. The village seems to be very, very densely populated with both scavs, PMCs, and so really, really fun to try and kind of go around there, and I really enjoyed it. Definitely added a new flavour to woods, especially considering the fact that we'd already taken out a lot of actual scavs and PMCs as we went down to the bunker as well. And then once we've kind of checked around the village, I'll typically make my way over to the sawmill then, or, check up that area. Now, you can either head to the northern UN roadblock as your extract, and then, of course, you can always check down all the way at the bottom to the UN roadblock if you did manage to get that spawn. Obviously, in terms of reverse order, all you can do is go in reverse. So you'd start off at the old sawmill, then to the village, and then you go to the bunker. And then I would probably actually hit up some of the sawmill, and then I would go and check out the car that's on the road, which has a spawn for essentially a blue keycard, I believe, something like that. It does have a labs keycard. I can't remember what the color is. It may be yellow or something like that, maybe a violet. But either way, it's just out on the road, so you can go check up that car, and then, you can either extract down in the bunker if you've got the key for that, or you can go all the way down to outskirts and extract by the van or truck even at the bottom left of the map. So that's kind of what you can do in reverse order. In terms of loot that I was getting consistently through this run after about 5 raids, it gave me a decent indication as to how much you make. It was in the region of about 2 million to about 2 million. I don't think it was particularly too high. Some raids I was only getting like 1 million. Some raids I was getting like 2.5 million, 2.6 million. On average, maybe it was like 1.8 million per raid, dependent on whether or not you take out Sturman if he spawns, getting his key, and that sort of stuff, extra loot, maybe taking out the goons and stuff like that as well. But in terms of the overall impact to, of course, woods, and of course with the new area that's coming out, this should make woods much, much better, much more kind of actual decent for PvE. I feel like a lot of the other maps at the moment are still above it, but woods definitely getting better as we go through. So I'm happy to see that woods did get some updates, and overall really good experience. Hopefully this video has at least shown you a decent route that you can take, and of course at any point during the route you can go off, you can do your own things, you can do your tasks, etc. But it's a decent extra bit of money that you can do, and it's really, really quick to loot up the areas that we were looting up. So anything else that you do, it's just extra money, extra loot, or just extra fights that make the game a bit more enjoyable. So if you enjoy Escape from Tarkov, you enjoyed this video, make sure to like it, and of course you can join me back in the next video coming soon by subscribing down below. See you there. Goodbye.